Talking Grit, a Detroit Lions podcast. Powered by the Monroe County Reporters. Here are your hosts, Jason Harwood and Jacob Litton.
Welcome to another episode of Talking Grit. I am Jason Harwood. With me is Jacob Litton. Going to talk Lions, Cowboys. No interview today. Just couldn't work it out with a short week. The timing just didn't work out. So Jacob and I are going to kind of do what we did last week. Go through, keys of victory, our normal process. And then we're going to throw our grit picks in at the end, talk a little bit about the NFC North and kind of the playoff standings, stuff like that. But first, Jacob, I got my Christmas tree. Are you a fake Christmas tree guy or a live Christmas tree guy?
For maybe there's a 4 or 5 year period where we did the live Christmas tree thing. And I like doing the live Christmas tree, but we have since transitioned over to a fake tree. And this is the first Christmas in the new house. So we used the fake tree from last year, luckily, for this year. But next year I have a very large purchase coming, and, Deanna's wanting a 20-foot Christmas tree or something ridiculous to be out here. So but
That
yeah,
sounds like fun
we're
to
fake
store.
tree now. How about you?
We are live tree. I was live tree growing up. Apparently Sarah's family was live tree growing up. We have continued to be live tree people. There was talk this year getting a fake tree because we are going on a vacation shortly after Christmas, and we were wondering about the live tree, but nope. And it's not even like I have to cut the tree down too. So we Griswold it. We go out. I do bring a chainsaw. That's
Don't
just
forget
much
that.
easier. Yeah, don't forget that. Yeah, it'd be like Christmas vacation where you get out there. Dad, where's the saw? And then you just got roots.
Did you put it on top of your car? Is that how you do it?
I did this year. So normally I have a trailer, but since Sarah hit the deer,
right?
The car that we use we usually have our Ford Explorer to tow the trailer. The rental doesn't have a hitch, and neither does my Edge. So we had to put it up on the roof. I had to put some towels up there just so I wouldn't scratch the top of my car.
Was this the rental car, or this is your car then?
My car. We took my car.
Right.
Should have taken the rental because I wouldn't have cared what happened to that. But we brought the dog, and there's not really enough room in the rental car. But the dog had a great time running in the snow and playing, so it was fun.
So you went to like a Christmas tree farm, or you just found the wood somewhere and just were like, "This is it."
Yeah, I went into my neighbor's yard. I was like, "Screw you, don't need this tree." No, we've had to use a couple lots, different lots recently because some of the places are running out of trees. But this place that Sarah found is like 25 minutes from here, and it has plenty of good trees. But trees it's like $65 for this tree now. Like I remember when Sarah and I were first married or whatever, it was like $25. Now it's $65 for trees. It's
what
crazy.
size is this? This like an 8-foot tree or 6-foot or?
Yeah, I'd say roughly about 8. I would say roughly 8-footish. Where we put it in the house, we have like cathedral ceilings, but we put it at the end just so it's out of the
where
way
it's
and doesn't block
and
the
it's
TV
like
or
not
whatever.
fully all the way.
It's not fully, so we could go a little bit taller, but I also don't want to decorate. Like I feel bad for you having to decorate.
Yeah, exactly.
Tree.
Get the ladder out and put the star on top. No, that's a problem for next year.
Dumb.
This year we were able to keep this tree.
Right.
As soon as she saw the price of the new ones, we were like, "No, we'll keep this one for now."
Gotta wait and get that
because
Christmas.
It's like $1,000 for the freaking.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Man, all right.
At that point, might as well just buy a bunch of trees and grow our own Christmas tree farm. And
yeah, that's right. Just right out back. I mean, maybe in your new yard, just every so often have a tree farm back there.
Why not?
It's a secondary income for you because this podcast isn't bringing in tons of money. Maybe your tree farm will.
Right.
All right, man. Let's move on to Lions football. I don't know how you feel, but like I would usually go into a week like super confident, and I have recently, but my confidence is waning week to week as we win one, we lose one, we win one, we lose one. So I'm going to start there. What is your confidence level going into this week compared to how it has been, like say for the Giants or even last week for the Packers?
I've said it probably like every episode for the last month, but it's like in any given Sunday. This is just what kind of year that it is, and where we've had such confidence in this team all throughout last year, even the year before to a certain amount, just confidence that we're not used to having as Lions fans. And I still have that confidence week in and week out. But my thing was like, I look at this schedule and I say, this team can win every game that's on this schedule. We are able to win every game that's on this schedule. And that's held true, week in, week out. But honestly, up until like when we blew it against the Vikings was kind of like, well, maybe you can chalk that up to the divisional opponent. We come back, we bounce back against the Commanders. We're like, things are okay. We really fell flat against the Eagles. And I think that the week against the Giants, when we let the Giants hang around, that's when it kind of shifted for me that I still have confidence that we can win all of these games. But now it concerns me that there's not any game on here that we, that we're invincible to. There's not any other game this week that I'm looking at. It's like, there's no way we lose that game. I would like to say that about the Vikings. I would like to say that about the Steelers. I'd like to say it about the Cowboys. But truth is, with the way that we've seen the product they've put on the field these last few weeks, there is a chance that we could lose any of these games. There's also a chance we could repeat last year and we could blow the Cowboys away. So, that's where I'm kind of tough. Like, the confidence is still there. I'm not going into the game too worried, but I will tell you, if we do fail and we do fall against the Cowboys, then I'm greatly concerned against the Rams and week in, week out. Because our playoffs, playoff chances took a hit with the loss of the Packers. We realistically can go 3-2 in these next 5 games and still make the playoffs, but we would need a lot of help. 4-1 is a really good chance to make the playoffs if we don't lose to the Cowboys or the Bears. So just to start this final 5-game stretch with a loss would really, really be disheartening. But I still have confidence, and I still, fully believe that we're going to get the job done.
We're still favored in this game, which I was surprised when I saw the spread. I thought, what
is the spread?
I think it's like 2. Let me just double check. I don't want to speak out of turn here. It was, I think it's like 2.5 or 3. So let me just double check.
Yeah, but 2.5 or 3 in a home game, that's even, basically, right?
Yes. Well, yeah. It is an even split, but we're favored by 3, at least when I looked this morning on ESPN. I was kind of still surprised to see that, especially the way the Cowboys have been playing lately. I know, beating both teams in the Super Bowl back to back, both teams that have beaten us already this year.
Right.
And then, so I don't know. It's Thursday football too. That's always going to be a weird, thing that can happen in those games. At least we're at home and both teams got a full week's of rest, but we're all playing, I think, unless the Cowboys had a bye before the Thanksgiving Day game, we're all, it's like the, third game in 11 days or something like that. Yeah.
But after
it's tough.
There's a 10-game stretch. Or 10 week.
Yeah.
10-day. Sorry, there it is. 10-day stretch.
Go from 10 games in a row to 10 weeks.
Week and game's kind of the same, so
yeah.
I was over 2 there. I rang it back in.
I'd say you did, man. I'm usually the one screwing that up. So
and we're not live, so Jason could cut that, but somehow I feel like this is going to be in the episode when it releases.
No, I'll somehow turn the volume up for that. I'll make it louder.
Nice.
Put in with those sirens. Like it brings everyone's attention. Be like, think something's important's coming. I'll do the opposite for you. I will.
I appreciate that. Can always count on that from you.
Problem. You 100%. Just a reminder, follow us on YouTube, Spotify, or Apple Podcasts, or on Twitter at Talking Grit Pod, and then like and subscribe to help us grow as a channel. We appreciate all your support. All right, Jacob, been a few transactions this week. We're going to start with first, Terrion Arnold, placed on injured reserve. He's been battling injuries all year, but he had to have shoulder surgery. So I think it's basically the same shoulder. They just decided to shut him down, get him, healthy for next season.
He only played 18 snaps.
Season end.
Right. He only played 18 snaps last week. He had that one booming hit on third down that was really nice. Yeah. So sucks, but we got this news that he was going to be out for the season a month ago, and then it was not true. And now here we finally. That's the risk by playing injured.
Yep. Sky was falling last month when that happened, and we survived it. But yeah, we got to be able to block. This week we could have used him with Pickens and CeeDee Lamb out there. Regardless of what you think of Terrion Arnold, it'd be nice to have the depth out there.
Right. I have confidence in Terrion in coverage. I don't. I know he gets a lot of hate and people talk about the penalties, but I like Terrion.
Yeah. No, he's been doing better than people have said, especially since that Bengals game. I think that, I know he got injured in that game. The problem is just him staying healthy, and it just hasn't worked out for him. Hopefully next year, him and we get Ennis back, and hopefully he could stay healthy. That's a big ask. I know he hasn't been healthy in 2 seasons, but hopefully it turn around. I remember Stafford being injured the first 2 years, and we were thinking he's fragile, but he's turned out to be an Iron Man. You look at like all the injuries and like what he played through for us and also for the Rams. It could switch. It's not over. I mean, it's not like an automatic that's going to happen, but it's not automatic that he's going to be injured every year either. He claimed another tight end, Hayden Rucci from the Dolphins, right? Jacob, you looked up some information on him. What should Lions fans know about Rucci?
Yeah, I wanted to look into that a little more just because the team felt confident enough to pick him up from waivers and get him on the active roster. So he's a rookie. He has played in 4 games this season for the Dolphins. He's only played just a handful of offensive snaps. It's mostly been on special teams. He's used primarily as a blocker. But, the Lions got to look at him like when they had the Dolphins preseason and everything. So, I mean, maybe he stood out to them then and they just seen the name out there. It also could just be one of those things, obviously, with Laporta and the injuries that we've had at tight end. They see a tight end pop up that they like and they felt the need to jump on it. Do I think he's going to be in the game in a Laporta role and catch 5 or 6 passes? No, probably not. But, they felt strong enough to add him and that, he may play. I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah. Well, he's going to be, he's actually on the roster. Whether he's going to be active for Thursday, I doubt it. Since that's like 2 days to get him in there. But
I wouldn't think so. If he's active this week, right, then you'd think field goal block or something. I don't know. I don't know what the benefit would be.
We're just, we'd be in trouble, right? So Lions also released offensive lineman Tay Moody from the practice squad and signed wide receiver Andrew Armstrong to the practice squad, which you would think is, something to do with Amon-Ra just having, someone else, another wide receiver there to practice because they've, probably moved Tom Kennedy around a little bit. Amon-Ra today, at least Jeremy Reisman reported that Amon-Ra has not ruled out playing this week. He said it's going to be a game time decision. My feeling is that they're probably not going to play him, but I'm not going to put it past Amon-Ra to say I'm ready to go.
He, they had media availability for him where they were asking him, and he said, he said he's trying to be out there for the guys, but his exact quote was like, "I'm not sure right now if I'm being honest." And then, he said the pain was much worse from this ankle sprain than any other one that he's had. And he could tell within the first 10 minutes of going out against the game that he probably was not going to be able to go back in. But he said it's getting better every day. To me, I got the vibes. It sounds like he wants to give it a shot during warm-ups before he gets ruled out. Like he's going to hopefully get better every day, and then he's going to go out there on Thursday and see how it feels and see if he can go. But we'll see if the coaching staff and the trainers have other ideas. Every week, it seems like Kirby wants to practice and wants to be out there, and he hasn't been able to until this week. And obviously, way different situation with Kirby. But Amon-Ra actually even said something like, if you ask the coaching staff, if you ask the trainers and coaching staff, they may have a different answer, which alluded to like, he's trying to be out there as much as possible. But the trainers and coaching staff, if he's not full strength, if they think he's going to do more damage, they're not going to let him play.
Yeah, exactly. Like I think that's what it probably comes down to. I mean, if it's a pain tolerance thing, I expect Amon-Ra to play if that's all that it is. However, my assumption is that, if there's a chance of it getting worse, then they're not going to risk it and just have him play in this game and then miss the next 3 because he can't play then. I know that our window is closing, and so we got to have these guys play because every game that we drop just drops our playoff chances down drastically. But we also don't want to risk Amon-Ra. We get into the playoffs and Amon-Ra's out there. That's not good either, right? I mean,
it's terrible.
You got to weigh all
we
that.
Don't need that.
Yeah.
Did you?
Exactly.
I mean, have you heard of Andrew Armstrong before? Did you see any of the updates about him?
No, actually, I saw what you wrote down, and I'm not going to steal your thunder because you did the research on this. So I'll let you kind of introduce everybody.
He's another rookie. He was an undrafted free agent. He spent training camp with the Dolphins and was released during final cuts. So this is somebody else that maybe we saw, ahead of time. But he's not been on an NFL roster since those final cuts. He's just been waiting around for his shot, and he finally gets it now here in the Lions with the practice squad. But the noteworthy thing for me is that he was teammates with Isaac TeSlaa at Arkansas. So they've, been, I don't know what kind of relationship they have, but maybe they have a good enough relationship, or this is somebody that TeSlaa wanted, or, he's the same size as TeSlaa, I think. He's like 6'4", 220 or something like that. So it's not like he's a smaller, shifty, he's not an Amon-Ra replacement. He's a big X receiver. So just kind of interesting to me that this is the guy that we've chosen to add to the practice squad and kick the tires on.
Well, I'm wondering during cross tape, they're looking at tape of Tesla and they see, maybe he flashed a couple things. And
Got to be something there,
I
right? I
know
mean,
they're
this
not
guy's been
replacing
at home.
Amon-Ra. I'm sorry.
I said there's got to be something there because this guy's been at home. He's been available all this time.
Exactly. Yep. No, that is interesting. I think the timing of it's really interesting. I mean, I don't think it's like, hey, we need this guy to replace Amon-Ra, but it's a matter of just getting another wide receiver on the roster,
True.
just for practice, or, you're running scout team type stuff. You need someone out there. But again, he's not going to play this week. It's 2 days away. So, but we'll see in the future.
We don't know if he ever gets on a Lions jersey, really, but.
Yep. All right, Jacob, why don't we talk about the main threats? We're going to start with the Dallas offense. Very good offense. There's a three-headed monster right here that we'll talk about. So why don't you tell everybody who we've identified as the main threats on offense?
The main threats on this dangerous Cowboys offense. Quarterback Dak Prescott. Pro Football Focus has him rated number 2 out of 42 right now. He was also rated number 79 in the NFL Top 100. And we've got both of his top wide receivers. So George Pickens right now is number 5 on Pro Football Focus out of 127 receivers. And then wide receiver CeeDee Lamb is number 23. And CeeDee Lamb was the NFL Top 100 number 35. What a trade, what a pickup George Pickens was just to elevate this offense. I mean, and I don't know if that is combined with the coaching change from Mike McCarthy to Schottenheimer, something just awoke in this offense. They got a running back, Javonte Williams, also has had a decent year. So that seems to be our kryptonite, is when they're able to throw the ball downfield and stretch the field and we're in man coverage. So that's not good that's what this team loves to do.
Yep. Yeah, I know that worries me. What I didn't put on this main threats is the offensive line, but they have a very good offensive line too, which gives Dak Prescott time to throw it downfield to these guys. And obviously the Lions have had trouble getting to the quarterback, so that this offense presents a big challenge for the Lions. Hopefully some adjustments are going to be made. It sounds like Shep is fully aware of what's going on, made it clear that we're not getting to the quarterback in time, and he even hinted at some scheme changes, which was music to my ears, because I think, in my opinion, we have the players to get to the quarterback, but we have not been dialing it up right or putting people in off position. And I think that Shep needs to just kind of rethink the defensive scheme just a little bit. And sounds like he's willing to do that.
Good. I mean, the first thing comes to mind is giving Al-Quadin more snaps outside. Another thing that I've seen people bring up and talk about is how many, the percentage of snaps that Hutch plays. Because, they're constantly rotating in and out. Well, Hutch doesn't typically rotate out. Hutch plays 95% of the snaps on defense. He's gassed by the fourth quarter. So maybe it's not a lack of talent, or, people are mad at him in some of these bigger situations, but it takes a lot out of you when you're getting blocked by 2 or 3 people for, 50 snaps. And then you're, here we are in overtime, and you're playing more snaps in overtime. It can take a lot out of you. So maybe it wouldn't be the worst thing in the world to give Hutch a breather a little bit more and try to dial something up schematically. And that doesn't mean, that doesn't mean 60% of snaps, but you can drop it down to 85. Give him a breather some of these first and second downs and bring him in on the third down.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard. He's so good in all areas of the game. It's hard to, take him off the field, and it's also hard to quantify, okay, is he at 75% in the fourth quarter? What is he? Okay, how do we, because a snap in the first quarter can be just as crucial as a snap in the fourth quarter. So it's how do you judge that? I know that's not easy. That's what, the coaching staff gets paid big money to do. But I also get the reasoning, if you think that that he's running out of gas or he's not as strong, then yeah, you want to be able to strategically find good ways to give him a rest. But like I said, that's easier said than done, because what would happen. You start taking him out, and then a big shot happens in the second quarter because we didn't get any pressure and Hutch was off the field. And it's why is Hutch on the sideline? That's ridiculous. We're paying him all this money to sit on the sidelines. That's going to be your counter argument to that.
That's true. But I mean, just looking. So the main thing we always hear about is Myles Garrett, right? They're constantly comparing him to Myles Garrett. Aiden Hutchinson has had 715 snaps this year, and Myles Garrett has 580. Myles Garrett does not play the amount of snaps that Hutch does, and that makes him more effective when you're not breaking down as much. Yeah. I think so. Micah Parsons has 600. Something to take a look at, something to think about.
100%. And then the people that wanted more help, for Hutch. That'd be part of their argument too. Like if we get someone opposite of Hutch, or we could replace Hutch a little bit more. We just need more defensive line help. And I don't know if I was definitely not someone that was screaming for more defensive line help, but I think somewhat of a scheme change is needed to get people in better position, to get teams that figured out like we got all day to pass and we can let these long routes develop. And you know the stock, it just can't work like that. So all right, let's move on to the defensive main threats for the Cowboys. I was surprised to see so many people rated high on this list for PFF, because I know since they got Quinn and Williams, their defense has played a lot better, especially the rush defense. They started to play a lot more 5-man fronts just because of the depth they have defensive line and edge. So that I guess doesn't surprise me, but to have this many highly rated, they've given up like, I think they're second to last in points given up this year, the Cowboys defense. So I was just surprised to see all these guys up high. So you got Quinn and Williams rated number 4 on PFF's list for defensive line out of 129. He did come in rated 87 in the NFL top 100. That's the only player on the defense for the Cowboys that came in the top 100, and they just got Quinn and Williams. It's at the trade deadline. Donovan Ezraku, who's their rookie, an edge player that I liked, and I'm not sure if you were on him or not, Jacob, but
We
it was
were.
definitely an edge. We were looking at the edge players for this year, so he's come in rated 18th. Right following him at rated 19th is Dante Fowler. Bland, their cornerback, is rated 26 out of 110. Damian Clowney, who may not play in this game, and that was someone that the Lions could have signed to, at rated 35th on the edge. And then the next defensive line, I
Say
don't
it.
know. How do you?
Say it.
I know I'm not saying Odigizua. I don't know.
That was close.
I How do
Odigizua.
you? Odua. Okay. I should have looked that up before. I forgot I was gonna give you this page
Yeah.
when I saw that name. Good job, man.
Real quick, I just have those numbers because you mentioned it, but the Quinn and Williams trade, the Cowboys are 3-0 since they traded for Quinn and Williams. And since they've traded for him, they're giving up an average of 69.6 rushing yards per game. They also have 8 sacks in the last 3 games. They're starting, that's been kind of the key to their turnarounds, that they're starting to gain some sort of identity on defense. The offense was already good. The defense is starting to get there.
Yep. Yeah, it's been big. I did not expect Quinn and Williams to make that much of a difference, but it has so far for them. Still think it's weird to let Micah go and trade one of those draft picks for Quinn and Williams. And then Jerry Jones comes out and said that he apparently said he offered, I don't know if I saw this right, if I remember this right, Micah Parsons and a first for Quinn and Williams is what he said, or something like that.
I did see that report because he knew the Jets
Yeah.
weren't going to be able to re-sign Micah or whatever, so he was going to give them a first-round pick too. That's crazy. I mean, it was already crazy to trade him, but to give a first-round pick with it, Quinn and Williams is really good. He's one of the top defensive tackles, and they already have, Kenny Clark, who's not exactly had a great year, but most of this year has been without Quinnen. Now that Quinnen's there, he's playing better too. So
Yes. Well, you can't double team both those guys. So I mean,
Yeah.
that's tough. So it's going to be tough for our inside offensive line to block those guys.
yes, it is.
Yep. So all right, let's practice report. The Cowboys is very short, unfortunately for us, compared to our long one. Why don't you go through the practice report, Jacob?
That seems to be the story of this team for the last few weeks as well, right? Every time we look at the practice report for who we're playing, it's always fairly short. Like the Cowboys had a
Yes.
pretty decently long practice report, but almost everybody on that report was a full practice. And then once we flip over our report, we've got a long report. Nobody was a full practice.
Yeah.
Anyway, but to go over where the Cowboys are at, so their defensive end, Jadeveon Clowney, battling a hamstring injury. He did not practice on Tuesday. Doesn't sound like he's going to play. They have not confirmed that. Offensive tackle Tyler Guyton also did not practice. Also kind of the same situation there. Trevon Diggs, though, cornerback Trevon Diggs had a knee injury. He also was battling a concussion that put him on injured reserve. We just looked this up before we went on. They activated his window on Sunday, but Jerry Jones says that he is going to play. So they're not going to take much of that 21-day window. It seems like he's limited practice this week. Jerry wants him to play. So sounds like Trevon Diggs is going to be a go. Maybe a boost, bigger boost to that defense. And then the other one, safety Malik Hooker, got in a limited practice as well. So, these are every guy on this report is a starter. So,
Yes. The only player that's on the IR for them that, is a major significance is Miles Sanders, running back, which is, fairly minor, especially compared to what we're dealing with on our side. For us, for no practices that happened today was Taylor Decker, but that was also listed as rest. So he did practice yesterday in limited capacity. Did not practice today, but he did get out there and practice yesterday. First time on the practice field in a very long time. Don't know if he's going to play or not. I'm going to say I doubt it for this week. Sounds like this is going to be a knee thing he's going to have to deal with all year, and then maybe they'll look for some ways in the offseason. But it's not a career-altering injury from every report, but it is something that he's going to have to deal with. It sounds like there's some cartilage issues there, especially the way Dan Campbell was talking. Khalif Raymond did not practice again. Panay Sewell with a shoulder practiced yesterday, did not practice today. Amon-Ra St. Brown, no practice. Brock Wright, no practice. Shane Zylstra, who they opened up his practice window. So we have 3 weeks to decide on him. Practiced yesterday, but did not practice today, which is not really a great sign when they practice one day and then they don't practice the next day. So we'll see how that goes.
yeah, we seem to use that full 21-day window though. So there's a chance we got him out there for practice yesterday, see what he had. If he's sore or anything like that, they probably kept him out today. We don't need any setbacks, so not somebody that we need back right away anyway. As far as Amon-Ra goes, obviously we want him out there as soon as possible, but he's not really somebody that needs the reps and practice before he can play. We just need that ankle to be healed. Panay Sewell is probably the biggest, oh God, please no. You see the shoulder, especially, nothing. He was not listed on the report on Monday. He practiced on Monday and then nothing on Tuesday. You hope this is kind of just like a rest day, but they're calling it shoulder. And, if he hurt his shoulder on Monday and there's a chance he doesn't play on Thursday, that's bad news.
Very bad news. Yep. And with Sika, I know our backup offensive lineman was limited with a foot injury, and Graham Glasgow got 2 limited practices in, so he may be back on Thursday. We'll see how that goes. Brian Branch been limited for a few weeks now with the same toe and ankles kind of stuff going on. So I expect Branch to play in. Sione Vaki, who has been on this list pretty much every week this whole season, this time with a thumb injury, was limited.
Yeah. Vaki, always on the injury report. Sucks.
Yep. All righty. Let us move into some of the stats going into this game. Your expected offensive fireworks here. You have the second and the third ranked offense as far as points scored in the NFL. Cowboys are just ahead of us now with 29.3. We are at 29.2. So expecting a lot there. As far as points allowed, Cowboys come into this game ranked 31, second to last in this league, 28.5. But as Jacob pointed out, since getting Quinn Williams, their defense has taken a turnaround. That number is not maybe not as significant. We come in giving up 22.8 points, and we're steadily moving down this rank. We were in the top 10 for a long time, but now we're coming in as 15th ranked team, giving 22 up.
Yeah, with Quinn and Williams, the Cowboys are giving up an average of about 21 points a game, which is a small sample size still. It's been 3 weeks. So, and they played the Raiders. So it's the Raiders. They also played the Eagles and they played the Chiefs. So it's not exactly like they're playing bums.
Yeah. Well, I'd say the Eagles offense is not, they gave up 21 quick points to the Eagles and then shut them down the rest of that game, which was very interesting because the Eagles scored those points and I was like, oh my God, that's how bad is the Cowboys defense? Because, they couldn't move anything on us, but obviously they locked it down after that, figured things out and shut it down. Cowboys offense, number 1 ranked, 393 yards per game. Lions are ranked 3rd, 376 yards. It's not like these are all garbage time yards. I mean, offense is putting up yards. It's just we're not converting on 4th down, especially lately, and that's been the biggest difference. Rushing yards per game, we are ranked 4th in the NFL, 138 yards. Cowboys are ranked 13th with 121, and the Cowboys have the number one passing offense, which is very scary to hear with the way we've been playing in our secondary lately. And just as a team, I mean, it's not just the secondary, it's a matter of giving the quarterback so much time and not getting them to the ground. But they average 271 yards to our, 238. We come in ranks seventh. All right, Jacob. Now, these defensive stats Jacob will talk about is for the full season. Like I said, the last 3 weeks, and we've talked about, it has changed, but go ahead and tell them how they come into this game there, Jacob.
All right. Defensively, how we stack up. So the Cowboys right now are giving up 376.2 yards per game, and we are giving up 316.2 yards per game. So the Lions are ranked 14th. Cowboys defense is ranked 29th. When you break that down, rushing yards per game, the Cowboys 124.7, Lions 103.7. So the Lions are ranked 11th, the Cowboys ranked 20th for rushing defense. And then passing defense, the Cowboys, they give up 251.5 yards per game, which is 30th in the league. And then we give up 212.5, which is 17th in the league. We're kind of, obviously, that's middle of the pack for passing yard defense. Not what you want to see on paper against the top passing team, though.
No. And I have a feeling that the Cowboys are kind of ranked further down because their offense is so good that teams are just trying to keep up with them, and they're passing a lot.
True.
But we'll see how it goes. I mean, I think that this game is probably going to be a higher scoring game, but Thursday games are really, really weird. So anything's on the table for me with how this game's going to go.
Right.
All right, Jacob, let's move in to our keys to victory. Jacob, I'm going to let you start first. What's your first key to victory?
All right. First key to victory for me. I tried to not be bland on this one, but it's the way it comes out. Find a way to have success running the football. We say this a lot, but I mean, our best games are when our running backs are able to do damage on the ground, keep the clock running, keep the drives going. It's going to be really important for the offensive line to hold up and for us to be able to run the football in this one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, be smart, run it, not try to run it up the middle, 3 straight downs. Let's
not run it
out.
right at Quinnen Williams. How about we not do that?
Yeah, no, that'd be great. Mine is, controlled third downs. That's both on offensively and defensively. We're going to need to win that battle. And we haven't lately. I mean, really all season we've struggled with this. If we give up explosive plays on third down and critical third down, it was like at the beginning of the season, a lot of times on that first and second drive, we were just not getting out the field. We're not, all this whole season, we're not playing from ahead. And that's what this team is built to play from, is like ahead. And we're just not getting there. And so we need to, control third down, especially with this offense. We cannot let them go on long drives. If we have the running game, like you said, that will definitely help us get to manageable third downs and, be able to convert those.
I have that on mine too. Like we really need to shut them down on third and fourth down. The defense needs to try to create turnovers. I don't know that this offense is going to give up too many, but we are going to get chances to stop them on third down. The Cowboys have a really good kicker, and they're not afraid to take the points. Like if this field goal, if they get a field goal try, it's closer than 60 yards, especially at Ford Field, they're probably going to take it. So we really need to keep these drives short. We've got to lock in on third down. We can't just let them keep going. We can't give up. If it's 3rd and 8 or 3rd and 9, we can't give up 14, 15-yard pass plays. And it happens way too frequently.
Yeah, I don't feel safe on 3rd and long, which is
right.
You should not feel that way.
Right. Yeah. Hopefully the pass rush comes back. They figure something out with that. My other one is going to be to feed JMO, really. I mean, if Amon-Ra doesn't play, this is going to be where we see if Jameson has wide receiver 1, abilities, if he's going to be able to do that. Obviously, he did pretty well of that last week against the Packers. How much of that was because the Packers they weren't prepped for that, right? I'm sure that they wanted to keep an eye on Amon-Ra. JMO typically gets a lot of attention when he's going deep, but not, every single play. So this is going to be one where, this defense has been bad against the pass, but all of the attention is going to be on JMO. So when he's running deep, he's already got a lot of attention. But now that we've kind of unlocked this short game, crossing route. The Cowboys are not very good at defending these crossing, the screen passes. They gave up a lot of yards on screen passes as well. And we already know how dangerous Jameson is with that. So we just need to utilize JMO early and often. I think he needs to have a big game for us.
Yep, I agree. I want us to be aggressive but smart on fourth downs. This is the top offense we're playing. We cannot be super conservative with this, and I don't expect Dan Campbell to be. But if we're down by 2 scores and the field goal gets us within 1 score, I want to be able to take that. Like, let's be smart about it. But the fact of the matter is, like, if we can't convert on fourth down, then we don't deserve to win this game. The fact that we haven't done it like really since before the Eagles game is why we cannot consistently win. We're not extending these drives. Now there's been some cases where I haven't necessarily agreed with going for it on fourth down, but to not get any of these conversions, and the fact is that like even the play calls have been good. They're just either the pass hasn't been there, but there's been some really bad drops that this team has had. And whether the timing's off or whatever, because Goff has to get it out quicker, I don't care. You still got to find a way to make that play. You got to get that first down. And I want Dan Campbell to be smart but aggressive on fourth down. I know that some people are upset with how aggressive he is still, but I feel in this game, you can't take too many field goal tries because the Cowboys can put up points on a hurry on you.
That's true. But I mean, it is an interesting, the argument that people are having is like when we're not moving the ball as well as we normally are. And, in years past, when it's been 4th and 2, 4th and 3, you think if we run the ball, then we'll get this probably maybe seven times out of 10, 8 times out of 10, we're going to get it. Now, when it's 4th and 2 and 4th and 3, it's back to feeling like, okay, this may be kind of a longer shot. And then you're kind of worried when we're going for it. Like, crap. I mean, especially when it's something like, okay, this will be about a 40-yard field goal. It put some points on the board. It is getting frustrating going for it all the time when it's not working, right? And that's just kind of the way, like, if we're hitting these, then nobody cares. Nobody bats an eye. Because we're not moving the ball very well, and then we're giving it up on fourth down, then everybody's mad about not taking the points.
Yep.
So he's going to roll the dice. That's what we're going to do. That's what we've always done with him. It's not going to change. So,
yep. You just have to be smart about it, but I think that especially early in the game, you're going to have to be aggressive. You're not going to win this game with field goals. I just don't feel that way. I think you mentioned it, but I don't care how, but you got to create some turnovers. I don't care if it's a Meek punching out the ball. We have got to get the ball on the ground. We've got to manufacture an interception, a fumble sack. Hutch was getting those early and often early in the season, but he has not got any strip sacks recently. We're going to need to figure out a way to dislodge that football and take a possession away from the Cowboys and give our offense a head start. It's just got to happen. We can't play this game where we're not getting turnovers. I mean, it's just too hard. I mean, that's been the biggest difference between early in the season and what we've had defensively late in the season. We have not gotten any turnovers, no sacks, anything, and I think that's going hand in hand why we're not getting any turnovers. We're not getting any pressure on the quarterback, not putting, making them make decisions earlier than they want or, bad decisions.
Right. That's true. I mean, that's stopping them. That's stealing a possession. That's creating a shorter field for our offense. That's just obviously turnovers help you win the game. So
yeah, I know it's dumb to say like, "Hey, we need to get turnovers. That's our key to victory." But it's been very glaring that we haven't gotten any recently, and they were coming in droves. And I'm hoping that you get this game started here when we start getting them, and then we hit that streak and we just start getting them more and more and more, and you get 2 or 3 a game, and you start doing that. I mean, we're still like in the plus column on turnovers because we're not turning the ball over, which is good. But we need to steal some possessions, and then also gets the defense off the field. They're not taking as many snaps, right? Putting more pressure on their defense. They got to take more snaps, especially on a quick change. If we're on their end of the field, I mean, that's a lot of pressure on the defense. You're hoping that they make a mistake, especially on a quick change. You take a shot, you get it in the end zone. It's a huge momentum shift, especially playing in Ford Field. Get the crowd into it, keep them into it. It's gonna be a good crowd. Cowboys fans usually travel. There's a lot of Cowboys fans all around. We need to drown them out because I know how Lions fans are right now. A lot of us are feeling down. They're quick. Some people are quick to boo, which is ridiculous to me, but it is what it is. Got any more keys to victory?
I don't. Do you have any more?
Nope. I'm fresh out of keys to victory. My last
one,
I guess,
would be. I was just gonna say the other one that I would have is just the offensive line as a unit has to have a good game here, and that's got to be the case every week from here on out. we don't
Yes.
win the games and we don't make the playoffs if the offensive line is not on the same page and we're just not, I have Decker's allowed 5 pressures and a sack in the last 3 games. Our Sika has allowed 8 pressures and 3 sacks in the same time frame. Ratledge has allowed 5 pressures. I think Panay's only allowed 1 sack all year, but it was last week against the Packers. So I mean, you got to get it together. And I know almost every single one of them has an injury that they're battling, but you got to get something together. You got to will something to stop them.
Yep. And I think some of it is just like let's get on the right page and get Dan Campbell and play calling groove, and let's just right this ship, because if we do make the playoffs, that means we went 4-1 most likely. And you're feeling good as a Lions fan, right? Going into the playoffs, going 4-1, you're playing hot, getting into the playoffs. I mean, that's exactly where you want to be. You want to be hot at this time. Um, and I know that we can go into someone else's house and win on the road. We're not going to be scared. We're going to be able to do that. So this is when it starts this week, is beating the Cowboys.
Right.
We got to do it. If we don't win this game, man, I'm not feeling great about playoffs. And I'm not going to be a down. I won't be down on this team going into next year, as far as like, oh, our window's over or like that. It just sometimes it just happens. I think I said last podcast, it's been like, I would say a handful of plays. Like I would say like 10 plays, either offensively or defensively switch. We probably have a couple more wins, and we're right up there with the Bears. And then the last game of the season is for the division. Like it really is. Like in that Packers game, it's 2 plays. If we stop them on 4th down and we convert that one to JMO, we've won that game. We flipped the score. And that Chiefs game, if we, like I said, Amon Rock caught that ball, 4th down play, we kept that drive going. Regardless if we score or not, then the Chiefs probably don't score. That takes a score off that game where, that's a different ball game. So it's really about 10 plays this season, either offense or defense. And, it's a totally different thing.
It's a game of inches, especially when you
It is.
have a good team. I mean, you find a way to win, you find a way to stay in all these games.
Mm-hmm. And, last year had the same amount of plays, but we were converting on 4th down. Those type of, this year just hasn't happened. There's probably a multitude of reasons on there. The people that get angry about what's going on, they have to blame someone. I don't know what it is, but people feel like the need to, like, hey, we need to blame someone. Like that's going to solve the issue. Like let's blame Brad Holmes. Let's blame Dan Campbell. Let's blame Jared Goff because he can't run. Like we were all high on this team last year, and I guess if I'm not saying those guys are perfect. They're not, but I'm happy with the job they've done. It just hasn't worked out this year, and it doesn't work out every year for every team. It just either injuries take over, the plays just don't, the ball doesn't go the right way. The refs make a stupid call here or there. I mean, it just happens.
For sure. I mean, the biggest difference between this year and last year is the offensive line, though, right? I mean, we have a young
Yes,
offensive
100%.
line, and that's, they've struggled at times, and that's kind of slowed the offense down a little bit. Has not been week in and week out, and it's not been, every single play. It's not like, man, they just can't get it together for this entire game. It's just, it's been up and down. It's been too much up and down, not enough up like it was last year.
I agree. And we had said before, like I think it was last week or whatever, it's like this team doesn't have an identity yet. I just don't feel like they have either an offense or defensive identity. It's changed week to week, what our problem is. There isn't anything I can hang my hat on. Whereas previous 2 years, the offensive line, we knew we could run the ball. I mean, how many times were we running it on 3rd and 6 and easily getting it? I would
Right.
not run it on. If we ran on 3rd and 6 and expected to get it, I'd be really upset. And so, you're right. It's the offensive line, and a lot of that is Frank retiring. And there wasn't much that we were going to be able to do to replace Frank, like to get that same level. Like, regardless of what, everybody wants to think, it's not like there was another all pro center that just sitting out there at home and we were like, oh, let's sign that guy. No, it just didn't happen. And I don't blame Frank. I think the Lions did what they were, they drafted Ratledge. They're going to move Graham over. They were hoping Ratledge maybe do center. That just didn't work out. And this is the way it went. But, Mahogany going down certainly has not helped. Him breaking his leg. I mean, that's not a training issue.
Yeah, right.
That's just happens, it's unfortunate. So I saw a comment from someone says, is it the way the Lions practice with Dan Campbell that causes these injuries. And Justin Rogers said that the practices under Matt Patricia were way more intense, which I found really interesting because I think everyone assumes that it's just the way that we practice really hard and then they cause all these injuries.
I think it was intense in a different way, though. I don't know if it's just more physically demanding, like the sprints and crap that they were doing with Matt Patricia versus how hard they're competing under Dan Campbell. But the thing about that is you don't hear too many. There's not been torn ACLs or things like that happening during practice, right? Like, not that we've heard shoulder injury, this or that, here or there, but nothing drastic. So I don't know how. I get the thought process. Like, there are players that come to Detroit or that have like left or, have been like, it's way, way more intense here. There's way more, taking practice way more seriously. We're doing way more reps and stuff than you do at other teams. So that's from players that I've seen that from. So I don't think there's a doubt that practice is more taken more seriously and more intense here. But to say that's the reason that they're getting injured, I don't know that you could say that.
Yeah, I also see that when they talk about it, I don't know if it's like I don't know if they mean physically demanding. It's just that they expect more out of practice. Like, there's no loafing around. I mean, they expect you to give full effort all the time, and so I don't know. I mean, you could read that quote. I know that you've read about them being intense, and I've read that, like Grant Stewart talked about that a lot. Like, the expectations are higher here, but that doesn't necessarily mean that, hey, we're hitting really hard and full speed and all that stuff. It could be, there's, every, we're getting 100% effort out of every play. I don't know. You could read it each way, but like a lot of, Hutch's broken leg, we had like multiple broken bones last year. Like those aren't a training issue. I mean, that's might be a play issue. Like we're playing really aggressive and we're, just flying in there. But those are also the type of players that the Lions gravitate to that, give that full effort. So, maybe that's the issue is that, you're getting players that are more injury prone because of I don't want to say reckless play, but like full speed play. So, all right, let's move on to the roar alert. Jacob, I'm going to go first because I think I'm going to steal yours, but I'm going to say Jameson Williams. I know that you talked about the keys to victory, but I'm going to say Jameson Williams has got to have a big game. Whatever. He kept us in this game, and it was a shame that he had that drop on fourth down. But he kept us in this game last week, and Jared Goff had some time to throw on the ball, so hopefully we could do that this week. Who do you got for your roar alert?
Yeah, I'm hoping that this week looks like it did last time for JMO, with the exception of the drop. But I went with Jared Goff. I think this game just means a lot. Goff usually shows up in prime time in these big game situations. So, I think he's just going to have a really good game.
Good. I hope so. Passing to JMO. I'm hoping that we could move the ball around a little bit. Like I want JMO, and I expect he's got to be the the go-to guy. Tom Kennedy had some big catches last week.
Right.
I'd like to see Tesla get more than two. Like let's get him some looks, man. I just move the ball around, get comfortable. Amon-Ra's not going to be out there. Let's utilize this time to gain confidence with these third or fourth options. And especially with Laporta being out, it'd be really nice to have a tall receiver like Tesla to be able to get a third down, a big third down, be able to throw a, I won't say a 50-50 ball, but a ball that's going to be in some traffic and he just going to need to come down with it to get the first down. We need that.
Absolutely.
All right. Great guarantee. I'll let you go first so that, because
I thought you were going to steal it again. I thought you were kind of alluding to it a little bit ago. But
no.
So for my grit guarantee, I'm going to say that someone's going to score their first touchdown of the season in this game. So I don't know.
Nice.
Tom Kennedy's been out there. Ross Dwelly, Anthony Ferkser. If Dominic Levitt plays, or one of the newer tight ends, could also be a defensive touchdown. Maybe. I'm not calling specifics, but I'm just going to say that someone's going to score their first touchdown of the season. And I also want to point out, I was just going to say, I also want to point out that Dan Skipper scored a touchdown last game against the Cowboys. So he could score again. Maybe it's Panay or Decker this time. Decker still needs his get back from that 2-point conversion a few years ago. So I'm not saying who. I'm not going to pinpoint it to who, but I will say that somebody is going to score a touchdown, their first touchdown of the season.
Direct snap to Dave Montgomery, and he passes it to Skipper for a touchdown. Let's open up the bag fully here.
That would be great.
All right. I'm going to go in our defensive line. woes, and it might even be a linebacker, 2+ sacks in this game. We're going to get at least 2 sacks in this game. We need it. That would go a long way to help stopping these drives, even, if we can't get a turnover, to back them up, get to a 3rd and 15, like just guard the sticks. I really want to see us with 2+ sacks.
Yes.
What's your confidence level going into this game if I had to put it in a percentage, Jacob?
Confidence in a percentage? I guess I'll put 80.
80? Wow. Yeah, it's definitely higher than me. I don't know where I'm at. Like, I'm in a 60% range.
And
Definitely
now,
not
do you
like,
think that's because you're worried about the offense, like just being outscored, or just because of the
yeah,
state of the team as a total?
yeah, I think part of it is, well, I think Amon-Ra being out, like, really hurts from being able to.
But that didn't slow us down offensively against the Packers.
No, it didn't. But that was like kind of a weird, like you had said before, like that happened mid game, and so now you could kind of scheme around a little
Right.
bit to get
And that's
ready
true.
for
It
it.
could have a negative effect on.
Right. And so I'm a little bit about just keeping up. But the fact of the matter is if we get off on 3rd down, and I mean the stuff that's happened in the last 2 weeks. I mean, we've had stuff like this throughout the season, giving up big plays on 3rd down. It happened early in the season. They seemed to like take a little bit of a break for a few weeks, and then all of a sudden, it's the last 2 weeks have been really, really bad. Where you know they're they're having tons of time and throwing the ball up. I'm expecting some scheme changes. They changed their practice stuff like this week. I know last year when they did this Thursday to Thursday, they didn't come back until like the following Monday. They were back on Sunday practicing like this week. So there's a sense of urgency that they didn't have necessarily last year. I mean, our record was different and things were just different at that time. But I'm feeling that, they're going to pull out everything that they can. They know it's do or die at this point.
Well, the same way that we felt as fans about the team is the way that the team, they're feeding off that energy, and they probably are feeling it too. You're 4-1 after you win against the Bengals, and then we fall flat against the Chiefs. And it was just like we didn't look good enough. It felt like we should have won the game, and we didn't. Everybody's pretty low. Like, oh man, we're 4-2. We beat the Buccaneers, and then everybody's right back up again. Like, we beat the Buccaneers.
Yes.
We're going in the bye. It's a good feeling. Then we fall against the Vikings. We're right back down. We're down even further. Like, we'd lost another divisional game. We can't seem to get things right. We can't put it together. Then we blow out the Commanders. Everybody's like, we are back. The Eagles, prime time.
Dan Campbell's calling the plays.
Yeah,
We're
right.
good.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, then we fall flat against the Eagles again. And everybody's like, man, this team, we're never going to, I guess the exception would be the win against the Giants. Thank God for Jahmyr Gibbs going off and, doing what he did, because that gave us something to be positive about, because that was not a great win, right? Like, we should have beat that team decisively, and we didn't. It did not feel very good after that win. And then to lose again, another division against the Packers on Thanksgiving, now we're back down in the dumps. So it's just been such a high and low season. As fans, they're all feeling that in that room the same exact way. They feel good after a win, but every loss just seems to keep cutting at us. So we've got to string together some wins. It's got to start now.
It has to. I can't imagine where this fan base would be if we lost to the Giants and then it'd been like 3 in a row. Like, say we still lost to the Packers the following week. Oh my God.
Ugh.
Man, it'd be bad. And I know my mood would be, I had a tough time after Thanksgiving. Part of it's just being there, and then the Thanksgiving thing, and then the Packers just wanting to beat them so bad. Yeah, it'd be nice to get on the right side of this. The Cowboys look to be much easier team to play. Like 4 or 5 weeks ago when they were struggling against Arizona or whatever, you're like, okay, that's going to be a win for us later on. But they, play better, but they're also due for a loss, right? We know
they're
the
feeling
Cowboys
pretty
history,
good.
right?
They're feeling pretty good after those last couple games.
Right? The Cowboys are like, they have a little bit of Lions history in them, in the sense that when you think things are going right, then all of a sudden, it comes crashing down for them. Hopefully it's against us this week on Thursday.
There'll be some controversial penalty or something.
Shut up.
Yeah. Maybe it goes our way this time.
Yeah. Well, that's true. That'd be fine. It'd be about time. Dan Campbell calls that timeout instead of Matt LaFleur, right? No.
Yeah. Ugh.
All right. So the number 1 team in the NFC for NFC North review here is the Bears at 9-3. I don't expect them to end that way, but I also did not expect them to beat the Eagles. So maybe they'll continue to surprise. I'm not sure. Packers 8-3-1. We are at 7-5, which that does not look good next to our name. I do not like that record right now, but hopefully we could flip it around. Still could get 12 wins. If we get 12 wins, that's what we predicted, right? I mean, we're right in
Right.
the ballpark. We get
11-6, 12-5 is
11.
not a bad year. It's just the way things have
No.
gone and the way things look with the North right now. But at the same time, I'm just not a believer in the Bears. And I know I've been dogging them for weeks, but they almost lost the Bengals. They did lose the Ravens, and they almost lost the Bengals. They almost lost the Giants. They almost lost to the Vikings. They almost lost to the Steelers. And then they finally, when we really need the Eagles to pull out a victory there, they finally had like a complete game, it looked like, against the Eagles and won by more than 2 points, 2 or 3 points. So
yeah,
I still expect them to crumble, but it sucks that two of their games have to be against the Packers. So
I know. I don't want to root for the Packers, and yeah, I don't know. We kind of almost need to so we could pass. The division thing's going to be tough for us, but stranger things have happened. But at least we're not the Vikings, right? 4-8. They think they've drafted the wrong quarterback. Then they were like, "Oh, we're going to put in Max Brosmer. He'll be good." My God, that interception that he threw for a touchdown reminded me of the Will Levis one.
yes,
That was like last season at the beginning of the year that the Bears took back for a touchdown. Oh my God.
The circumstances were different though. The Levis one was like with the game on the line. He did not need to make that throw. This one, at the very least, it was like 4th and goal from like the 3 or something, right? They were really close. The kid was just trying to make something happen. It was already 4th down. If he took the sack, the drive's over. He's like, let me chuck it up. Worst scenario for them. But, maybe after seeing that, maybe they're like, well, maybe it's not J.J. McCarthy. Maybe it is the offense as a unit.
Man, when I saw that, I was like, we lost to this team. Come on, man. God, that made me sick.
Right. That's why I said that one hurts. I don't know. I don't understand how we did that. Well, I mean, I understand how we did it. We gave Jahmyr Gibbs the ball less than 10 times. So,
yep.
I just don't know why.
Couldn't get out the field on 3rd down again, too. And that's what it was.
Yep.
And field position. We gave them really good field position all game. All right. Just to review our grit picks from last week, we picked who's going to have a better game. Amon-Ra Gibbs. Obviously, Amon-Ra was not given much of a chance. We picked him, but he was out early with his ankle injury. I guess maybe we jinxed him. Jacob, we shouldn't do that again, right?
It was not a jinx. But because you said that,
okay.
we will no longer be picking players.
All right. Sounds good. All right. Chiefs, Cowboys. We both picked the Cowboys. Bengals, Ravens. You gave the caveat. If Burrow plays, so apparently that's a rule now. I'm going to use that trick for all my picks. But
go ahead. You show me another one where the starting quarterback might be in, might be out when we make these picks.
Yep.
I think that Burrow brings something else to the Bengals, brings a different fire, and that they were going to get the job done.
Yep. You're right on the money there. So you got it. I thought for sure the Ravens were going to win that. And then I don't know if you watched the Broncos-Washington game. Did you watch the whole thing? That was a good game.
That was when we were recording, right? So we watched. I didn't get to see most of the middle. I saw the end.
Yeah, we saw the end. We recorded when we were done recording. We saw the end, and I watched that all the way through the overtime. Yeah, it was an awesome ending. Washington end up going for 2 in overtime, not getting it, so they gave the win to the Broncos.
Guy was open. He had Mariota had the man open. It just the blitz came through and they knocked the pass down.
It kind of reminded me almost of that Hendon Hooker pass that happened in preseason where I think the Dolphins intercepted it or something like that. That guy just had crazy ups, and Brosmer he didn't intercept this pass, but he jumped way high in the air, knocked the pass down. But if he gets it over his hand, the running back's just sitting in the end zone, and they get that win. And then the Monday Night Football game was not a very fun game to watch unless you like seeing Jackson Dart just get totally demolished on the sideline. Just they asked him after the game, man. Like, they were like, "Do you need to?" He's like, "Well, if I don't run, I just don't feel like I'm helping the team." There's a difference between running and being smart and just getting out of bounds so you don't get absolutely destroyed. Like, there's no need for that. You're just taking contact to take contact.
I don't think he saw that guy because he was heading out of bounds. He just wasn't quite. I don't know. He let up and no, he got lit up for sure.
He got blasted. People were like, "Oh, he hit his helmet. There was helmet contact on a quarterback." Sorry, when they're running, that protection goes out the window, and
As
you
it
can get
should.
hit like that.
But then the
Yep.
tight end made it worse. It was like third after that run. It was going to be like 3rd and 1, and then their tight end went over there and tried to fight the guy that hit him. So then it was 3rd and 16.
Yeah, just dumb. Like, man, what a
Control your emotions.
I don't know exactly. All right, so Jacob is at 29-17. I sit at 26-20. He gained 1 game on me, so now he's still 3 games up, and that guy's still laughing at my stuff.
Lahoo.
Yeah, exactly. 7 weenie. All right, there's your movie quote, Jacob. All right, Thursday night football. Obviously, Cowboys at Detroit. We're doing the over/under on this one, 54.5. Jacob, do you got the over or do you got the under?
I think that more often than not, you would have to take the over on that one. So I'm going to go over. I mean, 2 high scoring
Over.
offenses. Obviously, sometimes these games surprise you, and sometimes, the game plans to have longer drives and just, try to weed them out. But I'm going to say more often than not, yes, it goes above the over. So I'm going over.
I was originally going to do over, but since you did that, I got to catch up to you. I'm going under. I'll pick the under.
So now we can change our answers based on what they're saying.
Huh? Well, if you
just
pick
need
a quarterback based
you
on,
need some way.
I need some way to catch up to you. So I'm gonna just pick the opposite. But I was gonna do over, but I want to be able to pick. But I will tell you my next pick first, and then so that I don't have the advantage every time. All right, Texans at the Chiefs, 3.5. That's Sunday night football. Chiefs are favored by 3.5. I'm going with the Chiefs in this one, although I do hope that they sack Mahomes a bunch of times. That'd be awesome. Who you going with, Jacob?
I'm 50-50 on this one. I did go with the Chiefs, although I should just change my answer since that's what we're doing. But the Chiefs are definitely not. No, the Chiefs are 6-6. They have a top 10 offense, a top 10 defense, and yet their playoff hopes are just on life support right now. Mm-hmm. So, and the Texans have the number 1 defense, so it's not going to be an easy game for them, I don't think. No. So I think this is going to be a really good one. Possible playoff preview too. Like if that's, I just think the Chiefs are going to be able to pull this out. They have to. I mean, if they lose this one, that pretty much over.
If they lose this one, then their playoff hopes are really, really dashed. But I kind of had that feeling too that the Chiefs need this one pretty bad. The Texans do too, though. That they got a tight division race over there with Jaguars and the Colts. The Colts are kind of faltering,
right?
Here of late, so they've kind of opened up that door to win that division. The Chiefs the Chiefs last year had so many close games, and they're just not winning all of them this year. And that's the biggest difference to me is that they're a very similar team to last year, but they're just not getting the breaks later in the games, and that can happen. But the problem is, if they get into the playoffs, all bets are off. But they could go on another run. I'd rather, for me and my sanity, I don't want to see them in the Super Bowl, so I'd rather them just not make the playoffs.
We pointed that out last year, all year too, though. Like they just were not. They were good. They weren't great, but they were just finding Mahomes, and they were just finding ways to win these games late. And there were how many, like 8 or 10 games or something like that last year that were really close, decided. And then, like you said, they get to the playoffs, then they start making a run in the playoffs. But then that culminated in the Super Bowl when everybody's at full strength. They got blown away. Mm-hmm. And I mean, that was not all that surprising based on how the season went.
I just would not want them to see them in the playoffs. I mean, their defense, like you said, it can be smothering. They got, Chris Jones, regardless if he lines up offsides every play, it's still, he's dominant player. And Mahomes, and the fact that they in my opinion, get the ref's whistle more often than not, especially late in games.
Absolutely.
Which helps them win some of those games. All right, Jacob, Monday Night Football, pretty good matchup here. Eagles at Chargers. I will let you go first on this one so I can pick the opposite team.
Okay, yep, sounds good. This is interesting because I had said before our matchup that I thought a loss to the Lions may start sort of a free fall for the Eagles just because they were not, it just seemed like they were not all on the same page. And then they won that game not so convincingly, but then they fell flat against the Cowboys. They lost last week against the Bears and made the Bears look like a pretty good contender. So I just think the dysfunction in the organization is too high right now. It almost just seems like they're ready for the season to be over. Like they're almost just going through the motions. And it's crazy for, them to have won the Super Bowl last year. Maybe it has just been such a long year last year, really long year this year, especially with the players in that locker room, at each other's throats and everything. So on the other side, the Chargers are trying to hold playoff position. They're also trying to make a push for the division. Justin Herbert had surgery on his left hand, on his non-throwing hand. So I don't know. We'll see how much that affects him, but I do have the Chargers winning this game.
Yep. I went with the Chargers too. I think I think the difference in this game is the Chargers defense is pretty good. And I think they'll be enough to stop the Eagles offense, and the Chargers do just enough. Now the Justin Herbert thing is interesting. He did come back. I don't know if he broke his hand, right? Or did he? Yeah, and because he came out with that double padded thing on his left hand and played the other night. But I don't even know what night that was, but he did the double hit. I think that was that Sunday, like a 4:00 game or something that. I can't remember.
Sunday, 4:25 against the Raiders.
Right. Okay. Yep. And so he had the double padded thing, which was interesting because in that same day you saw Rodgers coming in and out of the game with his broken wrist, and he had to do the pistol the whole game. You're wondering if they're going to have to make some changes. I know with the running game, Harbaugh likes to line him up under center. Whether he's going to be able to take snaps, that'll be interesting to see how that all works. But I do have the Chargers winning this game, and I think it's going to be on the Chargers defense to stop this Eagles offense. It pains me that the Eagles beat the Lions and then they go and lose the next 2 weeks. After the Eagles beat the Lions, it was like everyone, put them as the number one team, and then they went and just crap the bed the next 2 weeks, and we really needed a win on Friday versus the Bears, and they couldn't do it. So I think you're right. There's a lot of dysfunction there. And it seems like it's an every other year thing with the Eagles. It's like they're really good. They get to the Super Bowl, and then that following year, remember, they made the playoffs. That was when they had Matt Patricia as a defensive coordinator towards the end of the year.
Yeah.
Like the dysfunction was high. And then the following year, they make the run, and Saquon Barkley has an all-timer season, and then they win the Super Bowl. But now they're just having a down year, and it seems like the whole A.J. Brown thing, and whether they, in that Packers game, whether they made an audible on the 4th down call, that's an interesting talking point too. But yeah, I think the Chargers will take this one. Be interesting. All right, man. All right. Do you get your kids to watch Ghostbusters?
We did not. I have not bought it yet.
Okay. All right. All right. Well, get on that because I'm waiting on it.
Right. But I will let you know.
Yeah. Pistons played good yesterday. They won. Actually, I won't say they played good. 22 turnovers. And
I'm sure. Did you watch the game, or did you at least had to have seen? Okay. So you saw Cade. You saw where he beat all 5 of them on the same play and hit that reverse.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Awesome.
That was sweet. The kind of the windmill, like underneath the hoop and around.
Right.
He did it after that was awesome. Cade is leading the league in points in the 4th quarter. This, for all players, he's got the most points in the 4th quarter, and he's just one of those guys that he could take over. And the thing that I like about Cade is that he's so physically impressive that he could take a lot of damage and still come through in the lane. Like even if he gets contact, he's still going to get the and one, and you get the George Blaha, count that baby in a foul all the time with Cade. And Duran is doing it too, though. I mean, Duran is so strong that he gets the contact, and then, we get some 3-point plays with him too, which is so watching them's good. The Wings are kind of on their streak right now. So good sports in Detroit. Let's hopefully the Lions get on this track and do it.
Right. Cade Cunningham was named Player of the Month just a little bit ago.
That's awesome.
Did you see it, man. Did you see I don't know if we talked about this last time, where he missed the free throw on purpose?
Yeah.
Yeah. So it bounced right back. He got it to Duncan. They got to it just before he could get it off, but that would have been insane.
Yeah. Yeah, that was awesome. Well, I mean, the thing that's been disappointing with Cade is that he got fouled throwing up that 3-pointer the game before. Or was it? I think it was the game before that.
It was the Celtics game that broke the streak. Yeah. Where he missed. He made 2 out of 3. He missed the last one.
3. Yeah. And then the next game he missed the first one, and then just chucked it and hit the rim, and it got it was perfect. You couldn't have planned that out any better.
Right. That's textbook. When you're trying to miss on purpose, that's what you want to happen. So that was crazy.
Yep. That was crazy, but yep. A lot of good sports going around. I watched an 80s movie today, Jacob, Rocky 2. So have you seen that one yet?
Which one is Rocky 2? Who does he fight in that one?
He fights Apollo Creed for the second time.
Okay. I was going to say, I feel like I've seen all the Rocky movies, but this is the same situation I was talking about before. I can't differentiate what part happens in what movie. So obviously it's like, okay, well, who does he fight? Which one is this one in? So
yeah, this is that was probably my least favorite of the Rocky movies, to be honest with you. I know some people don't like 5, but 2, like for the most part, so he fights Apollo in the first one, doesn't win. He doesn't win in the original, and then
Right.
Apollo wants a rematch. Rocky's not going to fight. He's going to do commercials, but they portray him as pretty stupid in this movie, so that he can't do any, like he can't make money and he's getting fired from his jobs. And then Adrian doesn't want him to fight. So like he really is not like into it. And then Adrian gives birth, and yeah, she gets out of and when she gets out of the coma, she gives birth, goes into a coma because of blood loss or whatever. And then she wakes up, sees her baby, and then Rocky's like, I won't fight if you don't want me to. And she goes, I want you to go and win. And then like all of a sudden there's like this music drop, and then that's when the movie starts. The problem is that like that's an hour and a half into the movie.
Yeah, right.
And then like they do the fighting montage, and then Rocky ends up winning it. And I mean, so it's my least favorite one just for the long, how long it takes to get where it's going. The third one is when he fights Mr. T. So I don't know if you've seen that one. Yeah, Clever Lang. And then the fourth one is arguably my favorite one. That's when he fights Ivan Drago, the Russian. Yeah, that one is like
seems
an
like that's everybody's, right? Like Rocky 4. I don't even remember. Like I was just trying to look and see all the Rockies, and I know I didn't see Rocky, the one that came out in 2006. I did not see that one.
Rocky Balboa. You didn't see that one.
I own them, but I have not seen that one. But now I don't know that I've seen Rocky 5.
Yeah, so Rocky 5 people don't like because Rocky doesn't fight in the ring in that one. So like he basically that takes place right after the Drago fight, and Paulie, who is Adrian's brother, ends up when they go to Russia. Apparently he like signed over like power of attorney to the accountant, and he just took all of Rocky's money. And so they get back. They don't have any money. He can't fight because of the Drago fight that no one will give him like he's had too many concussions. They won't, let him fight anymore. And so he's really stuck. And so he goes back to the gym and just starts training people. He starts training a kid, but then the kid is Tommy Gunn, who's actually was a real boxer, Tommy Morrison.
Yeah.
And so then Tommy Morrison ends up turning on Rocky, and they basically have a street fight at the end. For the reason I like it, I think that movie came out like at the end of the 80s. It might be early 90s, but it might be, I think it's the end of the 80s. And it was like one that was like on the TV constantly. It might even be the first Rocky that I ever saw. I can't remember that far back, but it was like one that was on TV all the time. I know, at least when I was with my grandparents, so I saw it like constantly. But it's also got like some of the best like Rocky lines, like at the end of the movie. Like he goes, Tommy goes to get into, it's like right at the end of the movie. He goes in to confront Rocky, like, you need to sign this. I want to have a fight with you to prove that like I could beat you, Rocky. And Paulie gets in his face, and Tommy knocks Paulie out. And he's like, Rocky gets up and he's pissed at this boy. He's like, you knocked him out. Why don't you try knocking me out? And so then, and then
good impression.
And then Tommy's like, oh, or the promoter's like, only in the ring. And Rocky looks at Tommy and goes, well, my ring's outside. And so he's like, go outside. And
that's how the street fight starts.
That's how the street fight. And it's like a street fight out there, and it's pretty awesome. Like the music's swelling, and I love that part. It's cheesy as hell, like in a,
right,
but in a fun way. Like I enjoy it. The first Rocky is like actually a really good movie on top of like just the boxing stuff. It tends to get more ridiculous as things go on, but that's funny. And then when they're in the street fight, they knock Tommy down or something. Like at some point he's like, hey, yo, Tommy, I didn't hear no bell. Ding, ding. And so then he like goes and just kicks the shit out of Tommy. It's so 80 cheese, but I love it. It's great. It's great Sylvester Stallone action. So but a lot of people don't like that one.
I'll add those to the list.
Yeah. It's fun to watch. Like that one. Yeah, I think, I don't know what they are with blood or whatever, but your kids could be in the room with that one. I don't think there's anything, too outlandish in that, but yeah, it's good stuff.
I'll be the judge of that.
Yeah, no, it's all right, man. remember, it's 80s, it's nostalgia. I'm sure there's a ton of 90s movies that you'll be like, oh, I saw that, it's great, but I'd be like, no,
I already
it
told
was
you,
not. I
like
know.
the movies that I saw when I was younger, I can't go back and rewatch because then it will ruin them.
There's a podcast I listened to called The Rewatchables,
I
and it's with
remember
Bill
hearing you and
Simmons.
Rob talk about that.
Yeah, so like it's interesting that Rob, because like 95% of the movies that they talk about, I've talked to Rob, he's like, yeah, I don't like that. I don't watch that. Or like, I don't know why he like, but
Right.
like, they will watch a lot of the same movies that I watch. And the reason I watch Rocky 2 is because they just did that one and I haven't seen it in a while. So I like to watch it, but that podcast it's a really good podcast to listen to. I don't really like Bill Simmons' sports takes all that much, to be honest with you. He's kind of out there and he's down on Detroit
Yeah.
stuff, so I don't really get down with that. But this is really, and Kyle Brandt will come on sometimes, from Good Morning Football. Him and Bill Simmons seem to be a good buddy, and he's hilarious. And they'll always do like a Steven Seagal or Sylvester Stallone movie or an Arnold Schwarzenegger movie, like all that 80s and 90s like action cheese. That's just fun.
Nice.
Yep. All right, man. Let's head out of here. Big game Thursday. I assume you gonna let the boys stay up at all halftime? They get to stay up?
They'll stay up till halftime.
Yeah.
Usually,
All
if they want to. It's funny because JJ usually will give in because he doesn't care as much about the Lions. He'll still like watching football, but he'll usually like whatever. But Milo will usually stay downstairs until he passes out on the couch. And then I've got to leave him a note in his room about whether we won or lost for when he wakes up.
Nice. That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's great. That's funny because like Preston's done that before. He's like, right when you wake me up in the morning, I want to know.
Right.
I want to know what happened. And so I've had some really good stories about like, when they'll go to bed, like Sunday Night Football, the Broncos and Commanders. It was like,
Yeah.
telling him how that game ended. And sometimes you can't get all that out. Like you can't like contextualize. Like there's so many penalties on the Commanders in that end of that game. There were so many penalties on the Commanders, and then like they would end up getting out of it.
Right.
It's crazy.
Yeah. Anymore, like the second they wake up, they're right on YouTube to try to see what happened, or they'll see highlights, or like they'll be like, maybe I missed the end of the game, and then they'll be telling me about it in the morning. Like,
Yeah.
how do you already know all that?
Well, the boys will get on Tom Grossi and just like his reactions because he like does all those primetime games, and they'll go right to his channel and get all that. It's
and that's always, I don't know if you've watched a game like while they're on Tom Grossi's like YouTube or whatever. I don't know what feed that Tom uses or how it's like that, but it's always ahead of whatever I'm watching, whatever I'm streaming on. It's always just a little. Sometimes it's close, sometimes it's considerably. So then JJ will be having Tom Grossi like on his phone to talk about the game that we're watching. And then, like, I can hear Tom Grossi going off. Like, Thanksgiving, Tom's obviously a Packers fan. So I can hear him going crazy on, like, a third down, or maybe it's, like, one of the fourth down touchdowns. I told JJ, I was like, turn that off. Get that away from me.
I was going to say, I could not stand, like, I like Tom Grossi, but not during a Lions-Packers game because I'm not going to, I'd be, like, sitting with the Packers fan. I can't sit there.
No.
I didn't tell you this happened at the stadium. I had two Packers fans, like, in row one, so I'm row four, row one. There was two of them down there, and I don't know, like after one of the touchdowns she started screaming and like, you like that shit, like she just was like
way over the
and
top,
everyone around us
something.
and it was just like, I don't know, like if people were talking crap, but I didn't see anybody talking crap. But maybe someone in the stadium wronged her or whatever. I don't know what she thought she was going to get coming in wearing Packers stuff. But most Packers fans that I saw after the stadium did not see anything like that. I mean, I saw smiles on their face, which upset me, but whatever. That's more my issue than their issue. They should be happy their team won. But like them, like I told Sarah, I'm like, she's row one. Like all it takes is a little push. And I was like, I could send her over the edge. Like it was just like, I don't like that, and I would never do that to anyone. I'm not that confrontational, but also like I know how I get so emotional about sports. I'm not going to throw stuff in people's faces at a game. I don't even care. Like, they came into my stadium. I've been to other stadiums, and I will tell you, the Cleveland Guardians Tigers game, Cleveland fans were way more aggressive than I were for a regular season game. But, the game I went to, we won. So, like, I just kept my head down and walked out of there because I wasn't going to say anything to anyone.
Yeah. No, they'll jump you there. Cleveland fans are not
No. I mean, I've had good experience when I went there last year, and I would say this was pretty good too. But people were just way more aggressive about it, and I think a lot of it was, they had like overcome us and beat us in the division, and now if we, they felt the pressure. Like if we beat them, we take game one. All that was for naught, and it was
Right.
so crazy. All right, man, we should head out of here. But go Lions, and I'll be chatting with you on Thursday night, right?
Right. Hopefully we have a victory Friday.
Oh my God, that'd be awesome. I don't know when we're going to be back on. Our schedules are not lining up with these short weeks, so it's probably going to be a Sunday night thing again. But we'll just keep an eye on Twitter if you want to see earlier. But I'm expecting our wrap up to be Monday night again. But then we got a little bit extra long time for the Rams, and hopefully we can get Sheriff on for the Rams game. It's gonna be a big game
for sure.
All right, man. Good talking to you, and go Lions.